Hey everyone, welcome to the Water Online Show. A lot to talk about. This is the business of water. We have a very special guest with us here today, somebody who is a longtime friend and partner here at Water Online. He has been in the industry for what seems like an eternity, but it's hard to believe because he's only 27 years of age, yet he has a wealth of experience and knowledge. And we're going to take some time and dive into his business, his products, and how his technologies and his ideas have actually moved the market forward in the industry forward in the way of treatment. So I'm very excited to welcome him to the Water Online Show. Please, it is my honor. Let me introduce to you Mr. Jim Dartez, the president of Reliant Water Technologies. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Travis. I appreciate being here. I just got to apologize for looking so old for 27.
You
I'm
were
having a
looking
lot of
about
fun getting that way.
maybe maybe 30. I don't know. But as I mentioned, you have been in this industry a long time, and man, am I excited to have you on this show. It's been a long time coming, and today we are going to talk about three specific technologies. And the first one that I'd like to dive into right away is one that's been around for about 12 years. So about a dozen years into the market, and it is laminar flow. And I'm going to leave it to you to talk more about it. But before we dive into the specifics of it and the history of what we might have learned over the past 12 years, viewers, I'm going to go ahead and show you a video that's going to explain the Lagoon Master Aerator in a little bit more detail. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk to Jim about it. So enjoy the video. We'll be right back.
The Reliant Water Technologies Lagoon Master Aerator is a patented and unique aerator design that has the ability of activating the sludge in a lagoon or pond over a 1 to 5 acre area per aerator. This video will demonstrate how this sludge activation takes place. The Lagoon Master provides over 15 pounds of dissolved oxygen per hour, or 3.87 pounds per horsepower hour, to the water. It utilizes only 4 horsepower or 3 kilowatts to perform this unique capability. This aerator utilizes the weight of slow-moving water at the sludge level to continually roll water along the lagoon bottom, thereby eventually raising the sludge blanket enough to activate it. A side view of the Lagoon Master clearly visualizes the unique utilization of bubbles to perform these important functions. A single 2 horsepower regenerative blower provides the air which lifts over 9 million gallons of water per day through the unit. By deflecting these coarse bubbles against an inclined baffle, the water is set in motion at a very fixed and slow forward movement. Approximately 25 feet in front of the aerator, the forward-moving water can no longer move on the surface due to the pressure of static mass of lagoon water. So, with continuous pressure from behind, the water falls to the lagoon bottom. A second 2 horsepower blower feeds its air through 8 industrial-grade, non-membrane, sintered HDPE fine bubble diffusers. Because these 0.8 millimeter fine bubbles cannot rise through the turbulence of the moving water above them, they are carried for 25 to 35 feet underwater, diffusing large amounts of dissolved oxygen continuously into the water. In this drawing of an operating Lagoon Master, notice that the falling water, with a continuous weight of just over 3,000 pounds, falls through the fine bubble curtain, so when that water reaches the bottom, it is continuously adding dissolved oxygen to the sludge that is now fully activated and rising as an activated sludge blanket. Viewing this activation process in motion, it is clear that the moving water, as it drops onto the sludge, begins to move and fluidize the sludge until the water eventually reaches a bank or levee, and because of the continued motion and pull of water to the aerator, the moving water returns to again be lifted and provided forward motion. This continual tractive motion of the water along the bottom 24 hours per day will, within a number of days, raise a light activated sludge blanket that consists of indigenous aerated bacteria that can now digest the organic waste and gases from the sludge. At the same time, all the collected waste gases that were formerly trapped in the sludge are freed in order to oxidize and rise to the surface to escape from the water. Also notice that this constant flow of water along the bottom of the lagoon causes an undertow from the surface, a true vertical mix of the water column. This vertical flow of water destratifies the water, guaranteeing that the dissolved oxygen and temperature are consistent from top to bottom throughout the area of influence of the aerator. This same undertow from the surface eventually pulls floatable solids and blue-green algal scum off the surface and to the bottom where it can be biologically degraded. The vertical mix also thins the algae population during the day and serves to eliminate odor from the water. This top view of the action of the Lagoon Master clearly shows how the moving water pancakes to form a complete 180-degree forward motion, activating the sludge not only forward, but also to the sides of the aerator. Because all lagoons and ponds are bound by berms or levees, the water continues to move in all directions, keeping the sludge blanket lifted and activated, with the water moving back to and through the Lagoon Master. There is visual proof of many of these capabilities of the Lagoon Master. In this video of a Lagoon Master in the Taihape Wastewater Lagoon in New Zealand, notice the angle of the aerator to the inlet pipe of the lagoon. Then, notice that the inlet pipe is flowing at the time of the video. Another 20 to 30 meters to the left of the pipe is an upwelling of sludge. This upwelling is the rebound of sludge from the weight of the water entering the lagoon from the inlet pipe. This video proves the 180-degree spread of sludge level water flow of the Lagoon Master aerator. This 60-acre wastewater lagoon used a single Lagoon Master to degrade a number of sludge islands that had formed at the inlet of 4 towns' wastewater to the lagoon system. Because the Lagoon Master is only moving water along the bottom of the lagoon, the constant water movement at the sludge level will erode the base of the islands and collapse them. Then, the sludge makeup of the islands is distributed evenly along the bottom and activated. This picture shows the sludge islands clearly. This picture, taken 7 months following the installation of a single Lagoon Master, clearly shows that the islands have been totally eliminated. Finally, a satellite photograph of the same 60-acre lagoon, only 5 feet deep, when viewed in its entirety, clearly shows the inlet area of the lagoon. This photograph, taken only 7 months following the installation of a single Lagoon Master, shows a definitive area of gray that measures 4.77 acres. This gray area is activated sludge completely developed by the single Lagoon Master aerator. A unique aeration technology is now available to the municipal and industrial waste lagoon and recreational pond industries. This new technology will provide energy savings to the lagoon and pond owners of up to 90%, reduce maintenance costs from 80 to 90%, and set back the need for sludge dredging for decades. With hundreds of Lagoon Masters now in use in every corner of the world, small rural towns and industrial plants are realizing a new cost-efficient way to keep their lagoons in water quality compliance and save capital and operating expenses at the same time.
So, Jim, this product is 12 years old. It's hard to believe because I remember exactly when you brought it to market. It was a very exciting time. One of the things I wanted to discuss with you and get your input on is, over the past 12 years, what exactly have we learned as it relates to the product, its installs in different areas? What are the big lessons that we've learned throughout the past dozen years?
Well, the main thing that we've learned is that the original design is still the design. We haven't changed much of anything. We had done in our prototyping, we had done an awful lot of work in testing the correct blowers and had the manufacturer of the blowers make modifications because we were developing a product that actually set on H2S gas all the time and was sucking air through itself. So you have to protect the internals. And so the blowers that we use are specially built for us. But once we got through that, and of course we were doing field prototyping all along. The original design works perfectly. There are 3 patents on this design. It's extremely simple and unsophisticated in its appearance, but we basically realized, it seems like it amazes us how in this industry nobody realizes the strength of water and what
That
it
is
can
crazy.
accomplish just by moving it. But we did realize that, and this aerator is the culmination of that thought process. Basically, we're just lifting that water with bubbles, with air, with very low horsepower, and then where the water, once it's moving, it takes over. It's only on surface. Now, this is a specific to the horsepower of the blower. We only want the water to move on the surface about 25 feet, and then the headwaters kill it and make it go someplace else, and it will always go to the bottom. So we have measured somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 pounds of water slamming into the bottom of a lagoon all at one time and spreading out and actually covering 10 acre feet of water, which
Wow.
is pretty large amount for 2 horsepower.
That's a big
But in
area,
fact,
no doubt.
it's the aerator that's doing the work. I mean, air and the water that's doing the work.
It is funny that you say about the power of water because I mean I'm stealing this from a popular movie called Jurassic Park, but which many of us have seen. But the quote I'm going to steal is nature finds a way. It always finds a way, and it is amazing just how much we as a society underestimate the power of water. And it is extraordinary just how simplistic the design is, but yet how genius it is. I mean, how forward thinking that it is. So I applaud you on that. Did you feel now looking back 12 years later, do you feel that it has met your long-term objectives?
Yes, it has. And but what we have learned, it actually took us about 3 years to realize that the water, you can't take videos in wastewater, sadly.
Right.
But it took us about 3 or 4 years to realize that we weren't just moving the water in a straight like a river. I mean, moving the water along the bottom like in a river.
Mhm.
We didn't realize until the video you just showed that it actually pancakes when it goes down and hits the bottom and goes to both sides and forward, eventually being pulled right back through the lagoon master and to be done again. But that that is the biggest thing. That what we've learned is that if we have all the information we need on the lagoon, including depth, size, we can get the address, we get a satellite photograph of it. We can place these units in such a way that they all actually talk to each other on the bottom. In other words, the water flows from each one is touching on the bottom in the middle of the lagoon.
Oh man.
So
Okay.
what we have done is we now put a digestion zone in the middle of that lagoon. Now, sadly, but understandably, a lot of customers can't afford to buy all that they need at one time.
Hmm.
So we've learned over the years to place the very first one at the effluent of the lagoon
Makes sense.
so that we know now that the cleanest water in the lagoon is where an aerator is, where our lagoon master is. So the water leaving that lagoon is the cleanest going either to another lagoon or to the polishing area. And so that allows people to remain in compliance. Within 2 months, they will immediately put their lagoons into compliance if they follow our direction. And then after they put them all in place, they will never have to dredge that lagoon again. Those lagoons will never have to be dredged because the aerators are making the digestion process continual.
That's an amazing feat, especially when you're talking about compliance. I know compliance is such a big issue now with a lot of different subsets of that, whether, whether it's LCRR or PFAS or whatever. But what that's making a lot of the Water Online listeners and users and a lot of operators out there aware of is that there's regulations that touch almost every aspect of wastewater treatment and
Right.
water treatment. So the compliance is a very important issue, and it's really reassuring to hear that within a couple of months that you can have your lagoon and your water in compliance. So that's definitely a main takeaway that I want our listeners
Well,
and Water Online users to understand about the Lagoon Master Aerator. So I want to switch gears to a product that I'm become quite familiar with over the past few years, and that is the Wet Well Wizard. So essentially, the Wet Well Wizard is perfect for collection systems that are struggling with grease or odor problems. I don't want to get too far into it. I want to let Jim talk about all of the technical aspects of it. But before we do, here's another short video. It's about 3 minutes long about the Wet Well Wizard. So enjoy that, and we'll be back in about 3 minutes.
The Reliant Water Technologies Wet Well Wizard is the ultimate answer to the elimination of odor and fats, oils, and grease, or fog, in the wet wells of collection systems. With its patent-pending, robust design and simplicity, it is what the wastewater industry has been looking for to provide the ultimate cleanup for one of the most problematic and expensive maintenance issues in the industry. This 8-foot diameter wet well had a fog cap measuring 10 to 12 inches at the time of its Wizard installation. Prior to the installation of any Wizard system, it is suggested that a fog cutting tool, somewhat like the one utilized here, be used for purposes of segmenting the fog cap and providing incisions on the bottom of the cap within which quick fog emulsion can take place. Most towns already utilize a tool much like the one shown, but Reliant Water Technical Bulletin number TB-WW1 can provide further information on the use of this tool. But even if the fog cap is not cut up and segmented, the Wizard will dissolve or emulsify the cap. It will just take longer. Once the Wizard is installed, away from the pump volute, and the feeder hose is tie-wrapped at the top of the well in order to keep the Wizard away from the pump, the blower can be turned on and the active cleanup will begin. The aggressive bubble action of the Wizard immediately begins to cut the cap into pieces and emulsify it. It is expected that within 24 hours of the power-up of the Wizard system, over 95% of the sludge cap will be eliminated, never to return. After 20 hours of operation, this 12-inch fog cap has been eliminated except for some small amounts of floating sludge that are trapped behind pipes and cables that are against the wall. Over time, that sludge will also be eliminated by the extreme surface action generated by the Wizard. It is important to notice that the water in the well is ink black. This coloration is caused by the fact that the water is completely anaerobic, with only an anaerobic microbial population living in the well water. 60 days after the startup of the Wizard system, the fog cap is still gone, but now you can clearly see through the water. Notice that there is no longer sludge debris behind the vertical structures of the well, only some small pieces of plastic that are caught onto the structures. Not only is the well water clear enough to see through, but there is also no black color left. That is because the microbial population in the wet well is now totally aerobic, and the well water is continually holding and passing downstream 4+ ppm of dissolved oxygen-laden water. This high DO water also carries aerobes into the interconnect pipes and downstream to other lift stations.
One of the things that jumps out at me, Jim, about the Wet Well Wizard is how much it could help larger cities that are probably more prone to suffer from these types of problems, whether it's grease or odor problems and things of that nature. So, what could you tell me about what the Wet Well Wizard has done over the past few years regarding helping larger cities with this kind of problem?
Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to start and take just a couple of minutes to explain how we got into wet wells.
I would love that. Yeah, let's go.
We were really building a very nice company around aeration for lagoons for small towns that everybody thinks they're all going to have mechanical plants. They're not.
Right.
They can't afford them. So we realized that, and the lagoon master was just doing great for us. But one day we had a customer, he had 9 lagoon masters, and he asked me, he said, Jim, you do so many interesting things with air. Have you ever looked in a lift station? And I was embarrassed because of all the years since the early 80s, I have been in this industry. I had never looked in a lift station.
Okay. All right.
And I told him that, and he took me to the single worst spot on God's earth is open the hatch to a lift station
Mm-hmm.
and showed me and explained to me all of the problems they have.
Sure.
And I don't want to make myself sound, but by education, I'm a biologist.
Mm-hmm.
And within talking about it and looking at it and understanding how it worked, I got intrigued. I felt as though I had an answer. And I asked him, I said, do you mind if we use your lift stations or some of them for prototyping? Because I have an idea I'd like to try.
Okay.
He reached over on his belt and he got a key ring and he pulled a key off and he said, Jim, we only have 30 lift stations, but you can get into any one of them with this key. All you got to do is promise me not that you will lock up when you're through.
That's
And
amazing.
he said, listen, anything we can help with, let us know. He said, I'll send you a map of the collection system. So that's what started it. And I have to be honest and say it is even more fun to work with than the Lagoon Master because my ideas were right from the very beginning.
Tell
The
me.
thing that nobody, until we came along, and still today, they're not doing a very good job of it. Nobody realized that everything in that wet well, every drop of water is full of anaerobic bacteria. There is no oxygen whatsoever in that wet well.
Okay, I'm with you so far. Right.
And anaerobes, there are a majority of anaerobes, and there are tens of thousands of different species. But somewhere close to, and this is going to be a squishy number, but 80% of those anaerobes, by the way, an anaerobe just sits. Where it lands, it sits. It doesn't move.
It's not going anywhere.
And its food has got to come to it.
Right.
Well, 80% of those guys, if you will give them oxygen and plenty of it, they will all of a sudden just wake up. And within a matter of days, they begin to grow cilia or tails, and they will move around and find food.
Okay.
So aerobes are extremely aggressive. And one of the key things is an anaerobe can take as long as a week to replicate a cell, something like 5 hours to a week to replicate, depending on the species. An aerobe will start replicating in 30 minutes.
Okay. Wow.
It
Okay.
makes a new cell every 30 minutes,
Wow.
or it might take another 10 or 15 minutes. But you can see how aggressive that population is. Now, our industry, and sadly, you've heard me say this too many times, our industry is just full of fine bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is fine bubbles in this industry. And basically what fine bubble diffusion is basically the friction of a bubble against the water, which sloughs off diffuses some oxygen into the water.
Yeah.
There is another method that I knew about, and it's called vaporous cavitation.
Say that 10 times fast. Okay, I'm with you so far. Yeah.
Vaporous cavitation. You can look it up on the web, but basically it's boiling water.
Okay.
If anybody's ever really looked at boiling water, the certainly there's a lot of bubbles on the surface and there's a lot of vapor coming off. But
Yeah.
if you really look closely, there's a huge number of bubbles on the bottom, at the bottom of the pan.
Interesting. Okay.
They're
I'm
flat
with
on
you.
one side.
Okay.
What happens is those bubbles, it's a bubble because it's full of oxygen.
Hmm.
And when it explodes, it explodes. I mean, it explodes every bit of that oxygen into the water.
I'm with you so far.
Now,
Okay.
I knew this. I knew this for various reasons.
You would
That's
think anybody that makes pasta would know. I've made it pasta a million times in my life, and I never paid attention to that. So I'm glad you.
but it's probably the amount of oxygen in that water that's helping you do whatever you do with pasta. Because
Right.
I can't boil. I have a hard time boiling water, much less cooking anything. But anyway, what we did, it turns out, and I had a diffusion expert, a professor at Penn State University, explain this to me. He said, Jim, this law has been in place for a long, long time, but you are the first one I've ever heard of that has been able to do it with ambient water, ambient temperatures. And so that's what the Wizard does. And we do in a 18-inch by 3-inch tube, we have 3 patents
That's it.
that allow us to make elliptical bubbles. We start with a 3-inch bubble, which, by the way, cannot possibly get sucked into a pump volume. It's too big.
Okay.
We tried it with 250 horsepower pumps and we could not pull that bubble down.
Okay.
But it goes
No.
north in that tube, and by the time it leaves that tube 18 inches higher, it's elliptical in shape.
Okay.
And that ellipse spins the long way and smashes into the water as it leaves the what we call the ejector. We will not call our Wizard an aerator.
Got it.
Even though it is, we
Right.
don't call it that because it scares the hell out of engineers and anybody that knows anything about pumps. It scares them to death.
That makes sense to me.
So we call
Absolutely.
it an ejector because those bubbles are flying out of the top of that thing at such a velocity that
Hmm.
as soon as they touch the water, they explode into the water. So the bottom line is we build the oxygen very high in the wet well, even though the pumps are constantly pushing water down line. So what happens is we are now filling that water with aerobes, and within about 8 days, we build a population so strong, so numerous that they're eating the grease as it hits the water.
Okay.
That water, that emulsified grease that comes down the pipe
Right.
is eaten as it hits the water from the invert of the well.
Got it. Okay.
Now, everything we're sending down now, down the force main, downstream of that wet well, has full of oxygen.
Yep.
So it cleans the pipes and it cleans the ARVs, the air relief valves. That's the operators tell us that's the worst job in the industry is cleaning ARVs.
Yeah, I
Well,
imagine it is.
we do it automatically because those bacteria splash up onto the ARVs and they've got plenty of food to eat until they run out of food.
You could tell by the video just how clean it gets.
Yeah, it's amazing. But the fact is that we finally realized we introduced this product only in WEFTEC of 2016.
Hmm. I was there. That was a good web tech.
What's that?
I was there. That was a good web tech.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it of course has become the monster product for Reliant.
Mhm.
It's left the Lagoon Master in the dust financially
Yeah.
because there are so many that are required.
Mhm.
And you had asked about large cities. They quickly realized that what we were doing, and we now use this in our literature, we are pre-processing the water in the lift station. Exactly what the wastewater plant is supposed to do. We're doing a lot of it in the lift station.
That's fantastic.
And so the towns, the ones that are spending millions and
Hmm.
millions a year to get rid of grease, fog,
Right.
odor,
All the bad stuff. Yeah.
and you know, they I recently talked to one that's got 15 vac trucks constantly operating,
I'm sure if it's big enough. Yeah.
just clean. These guys are starting to give us contracts to put wizards in every lift station, realizing that by the time that water, they've got this all in place. By the time that water gets to the wastewater plant, they're going to they're going to save tremendous amounts of money in the wastewater plant because the water, it's not, I mean, there's still BOD in it and there's
Mhm.
still food in it.
Sure.
So the same process will have to be made, but they will spend a lot less money on aeration and things like that, and be able to move more water volume over a shorter time. So their SRT becomes shorter, and consequently, they're much more efficient. And the big cities, the superintendents of those big cities that are the true experts in this business, they realize this.
Hmm.
So we are now enjoying some huge cities coming to us with contracts to put these in every lift station.
You would have to see that, right? Because it's those large cities that probably face the biggest problems related to the salt. What?
Phenomenal.
Yeah. Right.
I was at a meeting recently and I had a group of superintendents around me at a table, six of them,
Yeah.
and had all told me how successful they had been in controlling fog and odor. They still had it.
Yeah.
They controlled it by having all these vac trucks. They used tons and tons, or I should say, gallons and gallons and gallons, tens of thousands of gallons of chemicals
Right.
to keep the fog emulsified. And so I then told them, just think, between the six, I think they spent from a million and a half to over 4 million a year to take care of their collection system.
Right.
And I said,
Man,
what if you were able to take care of that well to such an extent, all of those wells to such an extent, you could actually send your city's people, every home or every business that you send a water bill to, a $20 check and say, it's never been done, right? But
no, I've
believe
never
me,
heard of it.
they could save so much money. They could do that. I mean, they could do it often, but they
Yeah.
don't have to. Now they
Right.
save that much money
Right.
constantly. And the people were mystified. They looked at me
I
like,
imagine.
I think I want to talk to you about what you're doing. So
Hey,
that's what it was all about. And it's a
good.
lot of fun. The one thing about Reliant, we have a lot of fun because everything we've got is technologically superior than anything else out on the market. It's a little costly, yes, in the beginning, but the return on investment is phenomenal and quick.
Yeah. ROI is a huge, almost a number one indicator of where a municipality or operator is going to go. Scott, I've never come across, and I say this a lot on the show, I've never come across an overfunded water or wastewater treatment operation. I've never come across it. I've
Yeah.
got too much money to spend.
Well,
So
they have to ask constantly for it.
yeah, I'm sure they do. And I mean, it being able to introduce technology that's going to be able to not just save them time, be more efficient, but also save them money in the long run while it gets the job done all in one location, I think is fantastic. And it's a disruptor. It's a disruptor technology, which is what we like to highlight here on Water Online. And speaking of disruptor and technologies and how that ties together, you have a new product uh, that just came out called the Lagoon Commander. So it's a mixer, not an aerator. What can you tell us about that?
Well, the commander became it came, needless to say, from the Lagoon Master,
Hmm.
but it came from a mistake.
Yeah. What
Actually,
what happened?
a customer had lied to us
Uh-oh.
about his lagoon
Hmm.
and we were very new in that particular market. It was the dairy market. And it was explained to us that, yes, they wanted to digest their wastes, but they really wanted to mix that lagoon because they used the nutrients in the water column. They had big pumps on the surface to push water to their fields all around the farm.
Hmm.
I'm talking about tens to hundreds of acres.
Gotcha. Big farm.
These are huge operations.
Right.
And they wanted the nutrients to spread automatically through pipes to their row crops. Well, not knowing anything about ungulate waste. Now, an
Hmm.
ungulate is an animal with multiple stomachs,
Okay.
like a cow,
I don't know
a
much
dairy
about that.
cow.
Yep.
We were successful in selling them 10 Lagoon Masters.
Okay.
And on the day of installation, my chief technician out there on the job called me and he said, Jim, we've got a real problem. And he
Oh,
sent me some videos,
you
and
never like to hear that.
we had
On
no,
install day.
and
On
that
install
seldom
day.
do, but this one just was amazing. The Lagoon Master, this thing was 10 feet deep. This lagoon was 10 feet deep. And what it was doing was picking up a lot of legacy
Interesting.
animal waste.
Okay.
And animal waste from an ungulate is full of hay and seeds from its food that they can't digest. And that binds that waste together. And we were picking these giant fist size, I don't know how to call it anything other than a turd,
Right. Okay. We'll just
up.
keep a
It
turd.
was hitting our baffle and
Oh,
dropping it on top of the fine bubble diffuser.
oh boy. Okay.
And
Be an issue.
so we really had a problem here
Yeah.
because that was stressing the blowers. So then I don't know if it was myself or the engineer, but one of us said, wait a minute, they're using this stuff for nutrients. They don't care about, they want to digest if they can digest.
Right.
What if we got rid of, I think it took us about 3 days to figure this out. We got rid of the fine bubble diffuser in the second blower
Hmm.
and just used the water moving blower.
Okay.
And we had all that power now picking all this stuff up. And when it hit the baffle, it was okay. It just fell down to the bottom again. Actually, we broke it up
Okay.
into more nutrient. So we did that. I mean, we
Yep.
all of a sudden we're downsizing everything we just sold these people, but we
Right.
need to make it work.
Of course.
And sure enough, I think within 2 weeks, I was able to meet with the farm manager.
Hmm.
And he said, Jim, he said, we have never got nutrients like we're getting now. He
That's
said, they're
fantastic.
so full of nutrient
Right. Very
that
rich.
we can thin it out and spread it even further.
All
So
right.
we're getting into the place where we can sell nutrients
Wow. Okay.
farmers around us. And
Great.
so all of a sudden, our engineer went back to the table and said, Jim, how much of a market is there for a mixer? Because that's what we've done here. We're mixing water now. And so it turns out that the
There is
drinking
one.
water industry, if they take their water from a river, they want to mix it so that they can get the chemicals mixed that clean it, and so many others, so many other markets. But we're really finding a lot of success for the Commander in the food industry, food processing industry, where they really just want to mix their waste and use it for other purposes, other than just getting in compliance. They want to use it and package it in some cases. So that's what the Commander is about. It is just a cut down Lagoon Master. It carries the same patents, or two of the same patents. And so we're having a lot of fun with that one too.
Excellent. I mean,
And we're all playing in different markets now.
I mean, it's part of what really sets Reliant Water Technologies apart from others, which is you go where the customer needs you to go. It's not a design like a designed preordained outcome and path. You're going to go however far and wherever the customer is going to need you to go to help so that you can help them solve the problems. It's a refreshing way to approach the market, and the industry is better off having Reliant Water Technologies in it. So Jim Dartez, I want to thank you for not just taking the time here to talk with us here on the Water Online Show, but also for all that you've contributed to the market over your young 27 years on this earth. It is all much appreciated. And if you out there want to get more information from Reliant Water Technologies, feel free to visit their site directly. You can also learn more about them on Water Online. Jim Dartez, president of Reliant Water Technologies, thank you so much for joining us here today. I cannot wait to have you back because this definitely needs to have a part two.
Anytime, Travis.
All
I
right.
enjoy our discussions, even
Thank
on
you.
the floor of WEFTech.
Yeah, especially in 2016. That was a great web
That
tech.
was a great one. Yeah, it really was.
All right, everybody. My name is Travis Kennedy, and for everybody here at the Water Online Show, thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next time.